Alright, so today we're going to be going over the quotient rule. So this builds on what we learned in the previous video, product rule. And so basically it states that any function like y, so is f of x over g of x, then the y prime of that function will be f prime of x times g of x minus f of x times g prime of x over g of x squared. Now, this part right here should look very similar. That's because it's pretty much just the product rule, but instead of a plus, it's a minus. And then you put the whole thing over g of x squared. All right, so now let's do an example. So we have y equals x over x squared plus 1. So in this case, x will be our f, and x squared plus 1 will be our g. All right, now the prime, the derivative of x, is just 1. So f prime is equal to 1. Okay, g prime is equal to 2x. All right, now with all this information, all we need to do is plug it in into the equation. So we have f prime of x, so 1 times x squared plus 1 minus x times 2x over x squared plus 1, and then that whole thing is squared. All right, so y prime is equal to this. All right, so we literally just mapped it to this equation. We mapped this equation to this down here. All right, so f prime is 1, so I didn't really have to write that, but I did it just for a demonstration. So this equates to x squared plus 1 minus 2x squared over x squared plus 1 squared. All right, now if you want to simplify this further, it just becomes negative x squared plus 1, because we have x squared minus 2x squared, so it's negative x squared, plus 1 stays the same, and then the denominator also stays the same, so then it's just x squared plus 1 squared. All right, so this is your final answer. So now let's take it up a notch with a question that's a little trickier. So, oh, that's a bad y. Y is equal to x squared plus 3 over x minus 1. All right, now x squared minus 3 is going to be our f, and x minus 1 is going to be our g. All right, so f prime, so the prime of x squared plus 3 is just 2x, because the derivative of 3 is 0. And then the derivative g prime is just 1. All right, so plug it in again. So y prime is equal to 2x times x minus 1 minus, remember, not a plus, it's a minus. That's the only difference between that and like product rule. And then you do x squared plus 3. And then there is the times 1 here, but you don't need to include it. And then all over x minus 1 squared. All right. So if your teacher doesn't care if you simplify it or not, this is your answer. But if you want to simplify it, you pretty much just expand. So now you have 2x squared minus 2x minus x squared minus 3 over x minus 1 squared. Oh, whoops. And then that just becomes, so 2x squared minus x squared is x squared minus 2x minus 3. All right, so over x minus 1 squared. Okay, so now, okay, you could factor this into x minus 3x plus 1, but that doesn't do anything for you here because you can't cancel it with the x minus 1. So you can just leave it like this unless your teacher is very specific about how they want it formatted. So yeah, let's move on to the next question. We have y is equal to x cubed minus 2x over x squared plus 4. All right, so maybe give yourself a second to try it by yourself and then come back once you have the solution. But this is our f, this is our g. Now, if you understand this very well, you don't have to do like, oh, this is f, this is g, this is f prime, this is g prime. You can pretty much just do it as you're writing the equation. But if you ever lost or whatever, it's very easy to just do it this way. So f prime is equal to 3x squared minus 2. And then g prime is equal to 2x. All right, so now we plug that in. So y prime is equal to 3x squared minus 2 times x squared plus 4. You know what? I hate that x. Times x squared plus 4. And then minus x cubed minus 2 times 2x all over. A lot of people forget this, but never forget to put it over g of x squared. So the bottom term just squared. So x squared plus 4 squared. All right, so don't forget the denominator part. Then your whole thing will be messed up. Okay, so we can simplify that. We have 3x to the 4 plus 12x squared minus 2x squared minus 8, and then minus, and then if you keep this all in brackets, 2x to the 4, right? And then minus 4x squared all over x squared plus 4 and then squared. Don't forget to square it either. Okay, so that simplifies. So 3x4 minus 2x4 is just x to the 4, right? So you have x to the 4, and then 12x squared minus 2x squared is 10x squared minus negative 4x squared, so plus 4x squared. So you have 14x squared. Okay, 14x squared. And then you have 8. So minus 8. And voila, over x squared plus 4 squared. All right, so that's your simplified version. And next question. Now we have y is equal to x squared over root x plus 1. All right. Try it for yourself. X squared, don't be scared. It's pretty straightforward. So let's get into it. So y prime is equal to f prime times g. So f prime would be 2x times g. So we just keep it the same, root x plus 1 minus, and then we do f times the derivative of g. So now g prime 1 over 2 root x as the simplified version of the derivative of root x. Remember, derivative of constant is just 0, so the 1 goes away. And then over root x plus 1 square. Oh, that's a bad bracket. Squared. All right, so this is the framework of it. Now, all you need to do is simplify. So you get, in the simplified numerator, 2x root x plus 2x, because you just expand, so 2x times root x is 2x root x, and then 2x times 1 is 2x. Okay, and then minus, and now since we have multiplication here, you can just throw this term on top with the 1, so it becomes x squared over 2 root x. All right, so that's the simplified version. And yeah, that wasn't so hard now, was it? Let's try this one next. All right, we have y, that's an x. We have y is equal to x squared plus root x over x to the negative 2 minus 1. All right, so you break it down, you got your f on the top, got your g on the bottom, right? So f, g. Now your y prime is going to be 2x plus 1 over 2 root x. That is all times x minus x to the negative 2 minus 1. All right, so we have f prime times g. Now we do minus, and then we do f. So x squared plus root x times g prime. So the derivative of x to the negative 2 is just negative 2x to the negative 3. The minus 1 is just 0. All right? Because you bring down the negative 2 and then you subtract 1 from the exponent. And then all over x to the negative 2 minus 1 squared. All right? So now you just simplify. So y prime equal to... All right, so for the sake of simplifying, I'm going to write this in the not simplified version so it's easier to compute. So 1 over 2 x to the negative 1 over 2. All right, so pretty much we're gonna compute this part and then this part, or simplify, sorry, and then we'll have one monster huge term. All right, so the first term just becomes 2x to the negative 1 plus 1 over 2x to the negative 5 over 2, right? Minus 2x x minus 1 over 2 x to the negative 1, 2. All right, so that was the first part right here. That was this part. Now we have another annoying simplification, you could call it, but it's not so bad. So, and you can rewrite root x as x to the 1 over 2 to make things easier for you to compute. So you minus, and then 2x to the negative 1 plus 2x to the negative 5, 2. So that one wasn't terrible. It was really the first term that was annoying. Oh, whoops. That was supposed to be a plus. Plus that. So that doesn't need to be. Oh, whoops. Actually, wait. This doesn't need to be in brackets. All right. Boom. Okay. So now you have your 2 massive, and then over x to the negative 2 minus 1 squared. So then finally, y prime is equal to 4x to the negative 1 plus 5 over 2x to the negative 5 over 2 minus 2x minus 1 over 2x to the negative 1 over 2 all over x to the negative 2 minus 1 squared. All right, perfect. Now you know the quotient rule. You can apply this to pretty much anything you see in this form. And so just remember the top's pretty much power rule, except there's a minus instead of a plus. And then it's all over the denominator squared. All right, so good luck.